Hello, and welcome to another session on heat. In the next couple of videos, we will learn how heat is transferred or moved from one place to another in the three states of matter, by which I mean in solids, in liquids, and in gases. In this video, we will learn how heat travels or moves in solids. When you heat up a spoon, one part of the spoon, the other end of the spoon also gets heated up. And how does this happen? So let us look closer, a little more closer at the atomic structure or the molecular structure of a solid. Now here in the diagram given below, I have drawn the atomic structure of a solid. When I say atomic structure, I mean to say how are atoms arranged in a solid. Now, in solids, there are two properties of solids. Number one, that the atoms or molecules that make a solid are tightly packed. And number two, because of such a tight packing, they are so close to each other, there is very little or no space for these particles to move around. Let us magnify, zoom in and see. Let us look at this particular particle here. How much space does it have to move? It does not have any space to move forward or backward, maybe a little bit to the up, but then a very little to the down. So the atoms or particles in solids are tightly packed and there is no space for movement. Now, also another point that we must always remember is that all the atoms, whether they belong to solids, whether they belong to liquids, or whether they belong to gases, all the particles in all states of matter are always in motion, a little motion or in a lot of motion. Now, imagine that in this piece of solid, all the particles are vibrating. Basically, they do not have any space, so they vibrate, by which we mean they move slightly forward and backward and upward and downward and maybe diagonally in these directions. So they are always slightly moving a little bit. Right now, what happens when we heat a solid or a liquid or a gas? We've studied this before. So let us imagine that one end of this particular solid is heated. So we have a flame here, we transfer heat energy into the solid. Now when we transfer heat energy to the particles, what happens to it? Well, the atoms will receive, all of these particles will receive more energy and they are in a little motion. So let me draw a little bit of arrow here. So let's say this particle is moving slightly forward, slightly backward, it's moving a little bit, but as you transfer more heat, it will start to vibrate even faster. It will have more energy now, right? So it will try to push the other molecules or atoms around it. So as this particle is vibrating when they receive heat, so first particle to receive heat will be this one and this one. So they'll start vibrating in all the directions and they will start vibrating really, really rapidly. And what will happen? They will transfer, as they will collide with the other particles around, those particles will also start vibrating. And when this particle has some energy, it will collide with the next particle. And so all the particles close to the flame, when they receive heat energy, they start to vibrate in all the directions and they transfer this vibration to the particles around them. And this vibrational energy that they transfer around them is basically heat energy which is moving around. So heat energy transfers in the form of a kind of a disturbance or vibrational disturbance. So these particles start vibrating really rapidly because now they have a lot of energy. They transfer it to the next one. This particle will collide with the next one, or will bang with the next particle and transfer the energy to the next particle. And so slowly the heat is transferred in solids from one particle to the other by vibration, through vibration and by particles colliding with particles exactly next to them. And this takes a little bit of time. It's not that you start heating one part of the solid and all of a sudden the heat will reach there to the other ends or in the middle. All of this process takes time because once the particle, let us say this particle here, let us assume this particle in center. Let's say when this particle gives energy to the other particle, it also loses some energy. So in return, it has to receive energy from the basic source. So this process by which heat moves from a hotter to a colder region in solids by vibration of atoms or molecules is known as conduction. So, what is conduction? Let me just reiterate or speak once again Conduction is the process by which heat is transferred from the hotter region to a colder region in solids. And how does conduction take place? By the vibration of particles. The particles that are heated start to vibrate, they collide with other particles, and heat is transferred from a hotter to a colder region. I hope you have understood the process of conduction in solids, which is nothing but the transfer of heat, the process of transfer of heat in solids. I will see you in the next video.